How's everybody doing? Rudina, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to try and cover a lot of ground in the next 10, 12 minutes. But I want to start with the macro because I feel like it's kind of remiss if we ignore the elephant in the room. And obviously, we continue to see policies that impact the investment world, our world at large. How does any of this stuff factor in as you think about investments? You've been investing for a long time, seen different cycles, different White Houses. Does any of this impact kind of your investment decision making right now?
Thank you, Carol, and good morning, everyone. So I'm an early stage investor at the very edge of artificial intelligence and frontier tech for enterprise and cybersecurity. And it's an environment of change. And change can be good and change can be disruptive. As far as AI adoption, we're only in the beginning innings of its adoption. Regulatory environment is as loose as it has been in a lot of years. So that in many ways opens up the door for investments. QSBS, for example, qualified small business stock, being an opportunity to it's loosened its definition and made it easier to obtain that with the goal of spurring more innovation. And then, of course, there is overall uncertainty in the political environment. So it's a lot of change in both directions.
A lot coming at us. Rudina, when it comes to AI, you've been a long-time investor. In terms of AI-related opportunities, how much stuff is coming across your desk? And how much of it is it, can I say crap? Or how much of it is actually you think, okay, these are opportunities?
So a lot, because effectively everything that we do going forward will be at a minimum AI enabled. I caught a glimpse of the prior panel when they were talking about building on top of the LLMs or the foundation models or frontier models, I think I refer to them as such. If you think about it, any type of tool we use, whether it's in our personal lives or in our business lives, will have a layer, will have a wrapper that's human-like interaction, human-like experience. That right there and there has been impacted by AI. That's actually not an AI company, that's an AI wrapper, that's an AI enablement, and every interaction from shopping to your personal finances will be impacted by that. What's coming to my desk is more qualified opportunities, I hope.
Yeah.
Particularly around vertical AI, so vertical industries where deep domain expertise is needed, where you can have unique moats and defensibility around the data and around the proprietary potentially models or unique models to the vertical or the problem at hand, so that the large incumbents can't respond easily.
So I want to get into more of what you mean in terms of vertical AI, but in terms of the horizontal players, the large language model players, whether it's your OpenAI, ChatGPT, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Anthropic.
Mistral, let's nod to them.
Right, the companies that we are talking about day in and day out, lots of money going into them. Is that the opportunity going forward, or is that just providing for the opportunities going forward?
That is providing for the opportunities going forward. And again, I'm going to try to balance not to be too techy, but what we are seeing is a rebuilding of the technology stack. So, these models are the very foundation. They just sit right above the hardware layer of infrastructure. They're really the software or the AI infrastructure for this stack. Above it, we will have, and we do have already, the middle layer, which is tools that help get you from, okay, I have access to a model, what do I do now, to that application layer. But the real opportunity set is at the application layer. Very analogous to what we saw with the cloud, where we have AWS and Azure and others, GCP with Google, but it opened up the opportunity set for a whole new class of SaaS companies, which they are challenged. That's the nature of disruption. But it created an entire ecosystem from NetSuite to Workday to you name it.
You did say on our planning call that there's a war around AI,
yes.
And you talked specifically about these horizontal players, and your point was they're going to take us so far, but not far enough.
Correct, because, and it's both a business reason and a performance reason. The horizontal players, the foundation model players, have actually ingested all of the web data. So horizontal is extremely difficult to compete with them, and they seemingly have access to capital that feels like unlimited. Anytime they want to raise, they've been raising, and we can have a whole different discussion on how many players can this market support. But fundamentally, that's been done. If I am going to disrupt the freight shipment industry, I have a portfolio company called Ship Angel that's doing just that here in New York. And, take us from the 1980s, where literally if a brand is shipping any good from any part of the world, what they are doing is looking at a piece of paper with rates, who knows if they're accurate or not, calling somebody to book, and then they receive, the invoice, and they don't know how to audit it. There is no way. That industry, it's vertical, it's narrow. I don't see OpenAI or Anthropic going after it.
So the mass aggregators of data, the large language models, that's not the value going forward, is basically the point.
At least for investors, that's my point.
All right, so what about the software companies? As the AI scare has made its way through the market, through different sectors, it's been a little crazy. What about the software space? But are they the ones who can be opportunistic because of their vertical data sets or their unique data sets? Or do they have unique data sets?
AI is software, just saying. So I think this notion of all software and new AI, there's a little bit of misnomer going on there. But fundamentally, it will depend on whether incumbents can disrupt themselves. It comes down to that. If you are Salesforce and you coined the term AI agents, and yet, you are challenged in all different directions, can you disrupt / innovate / acquire faster than the two guys in a garage, vibe coding from scratch, getting to revenue overnight, and who's going to win? So it becomes some about performance and a lot about execution.
What about something like Anthropic? They've just recently announced, it was just this week, updates to Claude Cowork, and it is extending abilities into things like human resources, investment banking. This is all through plugins. Yes. And what's interesting is they worked with companies like FactSet Research, S&P Global to make these capabilities possible. So what's to stop them from using that knowledge and kind of running with it and kind of taking over and making those companies obsolete? And these companies feel like they would rather be inside the machine than outside. Right. So they're saying, let me work with you.
We're asking the same question we should have and would have asked when the internet and the web was invented. So yes, it's a disruption, therefore it will give a rise to new companies and new opportunities. But the Bloomberg terminal didn't go away when the web, I remember I was an investment banker in a past life, we would go to the terminal. It didn't go away, right? It became
because we're really good.
Truly. But it became web enabled. So I come back to the notion of, yes, there will be new players. By the same token, there is an opportunity for the existing players to disrupt themselves with their unique data and automate your workflows. Right now, if you want to win in AI, it's about automating workflows.
What's a recent investment? So explain this vertical AI. So you have to be thinking, you're early stage, so you're thinking 5 to 10 years, this is a company that's going to be around and maybe disrupt the disruptors. Yeah. So give me an idea of a recent investment.
Happy to. So, and I'm going to pick one that's hopefully relatable to all of us as humans. Pharmacy prescription fulfillment. How much fun do you have when you have to deal with that and prior authorizations? I mean, it's a very antiquated process or workflow whereby the doctors, 20% is handwritten, 80% is digital faxes. They literally get faxed. Then it gets into the pharmacy. Depending on which pharmacy it is, they have many different systems. They have to input it from scratch. Then if it's a prior authorization, it has to go through a whole process. It's messy as messy can be. Well, with AI, you can actually automate a lot of the workflows from needing to call. You can now have an AI engine calling to, or, an agent, all the way to how you replenish 30% of the drugs that actually do not get picked up by the patients. So it's a multi-billion-dollar workflow filled with waste and difficult experiences for the patients and for the providers. Go for that.
What about the financial industry? Mm-hmm. What should they be thinking? I mean, they are obviously super familiar with data, with algorithms, with AI for a long time. But what does it mean for this space specifically?
That our roles change, and changed dramatically. So Claude Cowork came out about a month ago. I sat down over the weekend last Sunday and played with it, as I like to say, for a couple of hours, and literally updated the entire mapping of the entire AI techniques, architectures out there. My job is changing. Our jobs are changing. We're no longer going to be number crunchers. The number crunching is going to practically happen on its own, whether it's a Claude or something else. We are going to be interpreters. We're going to be more empowered decision makers. So what I will say is, there's a big fear around jobs. I'm not worried about jobs going away. In fact, any research you see indicates that there will be more jobs, especially in financial services. Our jobs, though, will change. And where will we be in that restructuring of our roles? An analyst will be a lot more about interpretation, will be a lot about this collaboration between human and machine or human and AI to deliver different outputs. So we need to be retrained.
Just last question in terms of your advice, a takeaway, because I do think about anyone who's here. I keep hearing about dislocation. Older folks might have some problems kind of making the transition. I hate to put an age thing on it. But you had a great piece of advice, and I know I've done this with my 22-year-old. What do you suggest?
I suggest hanging out with the 25-year-olds. They're mature enough to kind of have some level of sense of what's right and wrong, I hope, but very young enough to actually adopt new tools and think differently and not be bound by it has been done this way, therefore it should continue to be done that way. Their naivete is an advantage in these types of disruption and transformation.
Covered a lot of ground. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Rudina, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Rudina Seseri, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm Glasswing Venture.